Hello, and welcome back to the Up and Coming Artist Podcast. This is the voice of Christian, a videographer.
AKA the guy who wasn't here last time. And this is Ben, the animator, the guy who's always here. Vote for me.
Are we going to put out tip jars?
Yeah. I'll just have those like 3-word banners that, people put all over the city when they're like, the next voting season is coming around. Like, Ben, he's always there. Not on his honeymoon. Vote for him.
Vote for him. It makes him less lonely.
Well, speaking of loneliness, you were on your honeymoon, so how did that go?
It went really well.
And where were you?
I was in Thailand. It was a crazy fun adventure.
I was really trying to pretend like I didn't know you were in Thailand.
It was a lot of fun. Minus the massage. Okay. Minus the massage.
You had a massage?
Yeah, okay. So I've never had a massage before, ever in my life. And my new wife decides it's going to be a great idea to take me to get a Thai massage. So we get on the table, and I'll tell you her side. The minute it started, she thought to herself, this is not a regular massage. He won't like massages after this. And she was right. So it starts with you strip naked and lay down on a table where you shove your face in a donut. Then this small elderly Thai lady came in and just went ahead and straddled me on top of the table. And before I knew what was really happening, her elbow was fully in my spine. She was playing my ribs like a washboard. And if you think that's where it ended, no. She grabbed my leg and bent it in ways that I didn't think were possible because they weren't.
Right before that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was... If you're in Thailand, do everything, but don't get a massage. Spare yourself, and your shoulders won't hurt for 3 days after that.
Well, I'm glad you're back, so that now when I talk about my cheesy transitions, there's someone there to give me a sympathy laugh.
Speaking of cheesy transitions,
our last episode was part 1 with Miguel, in which we had him talk about getting to DreamWorks. In this episode, which was the same conversation that we've now just kind of cut in half, it's his transition from a production assistant at DreamWorks TV to a storyboard revisionist.
What? That's crazy. And what's really amazing about this is one of those examples of someone who had a clear path in life and followed through to a really cool success story. And I think that stories like this are just super inspiring. So I'm excited to listen to it. I hope you're excited to listen to it. Here's the podcast with Miguel Baltazar.
Being a PA was tough because I was afraid that I would mess up, and I was afraid that I would be fired just because there's like that fear of making a mistake that would basically be a snowball effect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, oh shoot, like I cost the animators a whole thing of animating because I screwed up, I deleted a file by accident, you know?
Yeah.
And I was actually a PA on Kung Fu Panda: The Paws of Destiny for about 5 months, and during that time, I don't know if you're gonna ask this question. During that time, I was still pursuing storyboards. I had actually given a storyboard presentation during my internship because at DreamWorks they always do like a final intern presentation.
Oh, gotcha.
And I presented actually my one of my boards, KI and Aztec, which I was working on at school, and I had actually finished another storyboard that did Mila and the Mechanical Heart, which is on my website, and I had done that, but I was working on storyboard tests while I was PAing, and that's something really important if you're in production. Basically, like, you're working 2 jobs. You're working your job as a PA during the day, and you're kind of moonlighting as an artist, like, after work.
Yeah. Plus, you were going to school at that time.
Well, yeah. So I was in school, I was interning, and I was, trying to do my storyboards. But as a PA, graduating, now I didn't have to worry about school.
Yeah.
But like, there was more time dedicated towards me being a PA, and like, I had to find time outside of work to pursue my storyboarding because actually I still live in Anaheim. And I've been commuting ever since. Yeah. So every day I would dedicate 3 hours to just driving. And so that was the thing that kind of took up a lot of time. But now I had more time dedicated to just pursuing art, not worrying about assignments. Being on Kung Fu Panda, like, I needed to pursue storyboarding. And I let my line producer know, Mercedes, I want to do storyboarding. And she would always be supporting me every step of the way. Like, if I ever had downtime, she'd be like, okay, work on your tests. Okay, sweet. And so that's a big thing, is take tests while you're in production, because you want to show people what you really want to do. And that motivation really helps. And you need substance. You can't just be, I want to be a storyboard artist, and if you don't have any storyboards or if you don't have any content, the person's not going to be able to react to you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I met with people, and actually, while I was taking the tests, one of the directors on Kung Fu Panda, he was moving on to another show because we were wrapping up. So I came on at a time where I had more time to work on my board test, but I still had to focus on production. And so I was working on board tests, and I wasn't getting any feedback because the directors on those shows were just so busy.
Yeah.
For months, I was just like, I recently, I'm a PA, I'm blah blah blah. I'm pursuing to be a revisionist. Can you please take a look at my board test? And you're like, oh sure, let's get back, in a couple weeks. And then it's like, oh sorry, things got really busy, and I'd be like, okay, that's the thing, you have to understand that you can't just go to the office and be like, hey, you're not responding to my emails. No. I have a career that I want to start, and you don't want to just barge in. You don't want to come off the wrong way. You know, as much as there is urgency for you to pursue your career, like you have to understand that other people are busy.
Yeah. Right.
And thankfully, this director was leaving, and he had like a gap in between it, and so I was nervous as heck because me being Latino, there's always that tendency to like not want to ask for help. There's always a tendency to kind of do things on your own. And like for me, asking for something, I always felt like I was asking for too much. Gotcha. By that time, like, no, I have to ask him. And so as he was leaving, it was the end of the day. I'm like, hey, I was wondering if you could take a look at one of my storyboards. And I think I had done a board test for the show that he was going to be on, but I also wanted to look at my personal storyboard, which is a Mila and the Mechanical Heart. And then he said, yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm like, okay, thank God. And so I sent him the link. And he said he was going to be on vacation, but he said he'd be back. He said follow up with me. And so I did. And I sent them a link to my website. And then he said, okay, cool, I'll look at it. And then I asked him, like, when would be a good time to meet? He said, oh, yeah, let's meet, like, tomorrow. And so then I met with him, and it was super nerve-wracking. I think this, to me, is, like, one of my favorite moments ever. Like, this is, like, one of the defining moments for me because I'm meeting with the director. I'm finally getting feedback.
It's all been leading up to this, right?
It's basically what a lot of people dream of, is having someone, like, kind of look at your work and give you, a conclusion as to whether or not you're ready or not. And so I was nervous because, I could just imagine looking at my boards and just being like, wow, like, this guy, he wants to be a board artist? Like, again, you're your own worst enemy, your own worst critic. And so he came up to me. And I'm getting chills right now because it's just so it's so vivid. I sat with him and he said, "Okay, I looked at your stuff," and he said, "Dude, you're ready." And like I'm getting chills now. Because the entire time I was expecting people to be like, "No, you still got time. You still need to get better at this." He's like, "Dude, you're ready." And he even said, "Dude, you could even be a board artist." And like I almost fainted because
wow,
because I wasn't expecting that. And so that's the thing where it's like, had I not asked him, I would have never known. I feel like had I just hesitated and let him leave that day, I would have never gotten to that point where someone tells me not only that I'm ready, but I could actually be ready for a job that I'm not expecting for another couple of years, because I wanted to be a revisionist. Which, by the way, if for people who don't know what being a revisionist is, basically you're kind of like the junior storyboard artist. And so the board artist is the person that boards the entire episode. They take the script and they draw it. They make it into it's like if you were to read a novel and adapt it into a movie. That's basically what storyboarding is, where you read the script and you draw it out and you play it as if it's an animation. But what the revisionist does is that they kind of take what the board artist did and then they clean up a lot of the drawings that they did. So in TV, revisionists exist, but in feature not so much, because in feature they got way more time to storyboard a movie or a sequence because they get years to do it. In TV, you only get about a couple months to storyboard an episode. So the boardists do a lot of the heavy lifting and bringing the script to life, but then we're the ones that kind of punch it up. We're kind of the ones to spruce up the thing.
Well, and too, because at DreamWorks, it's a CG show, so sometimes you have to board on model, correct? Right? So it has to be the exact kind of proportions of that character on screen. Oh, really?
No, it's the opposite. Because the model is already built for you, you kind of draw characters however you want. It's actually in 2D where you have to be on model, because the artists have to, because in 2D, like, the animators draw out the characters. In CG, it's different because the model's already there.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure. You just have to make sure that the likeness is there. Yeah. So you'd think, right? You'd think that because it's a CG show, you'd be on model. But actually, it's the complete opposite. As long as so the important thing is to keep in mind the relative size of things. So if your character is bigger than what the table is, and they're actually supposed to be smaller, then that's a problem because in
You can't change the model,
you can
right?
yeah, because say there's a shot of a character whose face is showing, is peeking out from a table, and it turns out they're way smaller. The animator will actually just put the character there, and like you won't see their face.
Yeah,
they'll
be below the table.
Or their lip will be covered.
Yeah.
So if the board artist draws a character that's a little too tall, taller than they should be, and they're actually smaller, the shot may be ruined because they didn't keep in mind size relationship. And so for us, what a revisionist does, we get our assignment from the director mainly, because the director looks at all the storyboards. They look at the animatic, which is basically like a video version of all the storyboards put together as if it was the episode. They look at the animatic. They jot down notes on what sequences need to be revised or what expressions need to be revised. And basically, it's like school. You report to the director, and the director tells you, okay, so we need to revise sequence 8. In this sequence, this character has to, be more expressive, or this character shouldn't be angry, they should be sad. And so he'll do thumbnails over, or he'll draw over certain panels, or he'll, even on paper, like draw quick thumbnails and stuff. I keep those, like the revisionist is basically learning from the director how to be a better board artist. And I think that's really cool because the board artists, they don't really see their stuff. They just have to move on directly to the next thing.
Right.
But a revisionist is there to spruce up the boards and then learn from the director. And then from there, usually the board artists move up to storyboarding. And that's my goal right now. And so that's what a revisionist does. And a lot of people don't really know that position. It's mainly seen in TV, but I would say super crucial because even if you're not at that level of storyboarding yet, a revisionist job is good because if you have the proper drawing skills, proper composition, understanding of that, then you're equipped to be a revisionist. And that's what he saw, is that like I had the compositional skills and the technical skills that I was ready. And basically something I did in school that I was dedicated to was the thing that impressed him. And I don't know if you're going to ask about how I got the job, so he looked at my personal stuff, and I told him, by the way, I took this test for this show. I was wondering if the show that he was on, I was wondering if you could take a look at it. He's like, oh yeah, sure, absolutely. And so I sent him the link,
Gotcha.
And you get like the prompt for what the storyboard sequence is and like, dialogue and, the script. And so I sent him all that. I sent him my roughs. So a thing for a board test, a good board test, or at least, I mean, for me, I don't know if it was a good board test, but like a test that gets you considered, you have to have thumbnails, or you want to have thumbnails to show what your process is. And you also want to have like some sketches of the characters, like in your shorthand. Basically, a shorthand, if you don't know, it's basically like a quick version of drawing a character, because in boarding, you have to draw them quickly and you have to make them recognizable. It's a very efficient way of drawing a character. So having like quick sketches of characters, and then also with your board test, your actual panels, have some panels that are really rough. Like you can clean up some panels in your sequence, but just show like a red line or something. Like show like a very rough sketch of a character, and just like a couple panels, just to show what your initial sketch is and what your cleanup is. Because they want to see your process. They want to see that you're not taking forever on a panel. They want you to just get the idea down, and then have your idea be clear. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it has to be clear. And so that's what I sent him everything. I even sent him my resume, and I tweaked my resume to be more towards storyboarding, like my storyboard experience. So it's adapting to what your potential job is.
Yeah.
You're sending an application in for a production internship, you have to adapt your resume cover letter to that.
Gotcha.
And so I sent him all that, and for like 2 weeks, there wasn't a response. I'm like, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah.
Here we go again, like with the radio silence. And so I got back to him, like I saw him. It's like, hey, how's it going? I was wondering if you could set up time. He said, yeah, I looked at it, it's really good. And then, and actually, you know what? I'm backtracking a little bit.
Go for it.
He asked me when I took that board test, and this is when he told me I was ready, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I was always going to pass out, but he asked me when I finished it, and then I said, I finished it like a week ago. He's like, send it to me. So he was the one that's like, okay, send it to me.
Yeah.
Because he even told me that like he found out who his board team was. They were hiring the board artists, but I thought they also hired the revisionists. And so I was afraid that I'd missed the cut.
Right.
For the show, I thought, they hired everyone. And
you're
so,
like, well, I just want to improve.
Yeah, for me, it was like
feedback.
Yeah, and that his comments on my stuff just elevated me. Like I was so euphoric. I was so happy. And so like he told me it was really good, and so then I kind of just forgot about it. And so then I was actually going to move on to another show, the Fast and Furious animated show. I can't say much about what the story is. It's been announced, but I went on that show because my end date on Kung Fu Panda was approaching, and I wanted to continue. You know, whatever show I was on, I wanted to continue at the company to continue growing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what my trajectory was, and so I wanted to Fast and Furious. They told there are stories behind it because it's a very hard show to be on because it's the biggest CG show that they're doing, and I was on there 2 weeks. And it was crazy because sometimes I have to stay up late, you know, like really late, like up until midnight. And but I mean, that's what it took, you know, that's what it takes to get it done. And then 2 weeks into the job, one of the recruiters approached me, and I went into the mess hall, and she's like, Miguel, I need to talk to you. And I'm gonna get chills again because these moments are just so vivid for me.
They're life-changing.
They're life-changing, yeah. And it's funny because it's a casual encounter, but it's just the implications of it are great, so great. And so she said, oh yeah, so like, you know, one of the recruiters was passing around your storyboard test to other shows, and you got 2 interviews. And like, I'm getting chills again. I'm
getting chills. This is amazing.
And she's like, you got 2 interviews for storyboard revision. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I just yelled it out loud. Are you kidding me? And thankfully there weren't people around because there were people getting out of a meeting. But I was just stunned. I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? Like,
this is happening.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
For it to happen that fast, because people have always told me, yeah, it takes about a year for a person to move from production to boards, or it takes 2 years. The fastest anyone's ever transitioned is 7 months. And I was only like 5 months, or actually like about 6 months into being a PA.
Wow.
Because I think I said I was on Comeback for 5 months. I think it was actually like 4 months. It wasn't that long. And then it was like 2 weeks into the Fast and Furious show. Like they said, yeah, you're getting interviews for Revisionist.
Can you talk about what shows those were for? Or you
they're both unannounced.
Okay, that's okay. We'll save it.
But once they're announced, I'll let you know.
Cool.
One of them I was really excited about, and the other one was like, if I don't get the one I like and I get this one, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, I wasn't gonna be ungrateful about it. And I had to keep it under the radar.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anyone. I was just at my desk, just like,
yeah.
and then this would be like, Miguel. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I just had a lot of sugar. And so, I had to pretend. And what's funny is that I would just be like, I would tell my coordinator, I'm like, hey Candace, I'm just gonna, you know, get a portfolio review from her director. He's like, okay, cool. But I was basically going to an interview for another show.
That's awesome.
So I interviewed for one show, and the show that I wanted to be on, like I loved it. Like the people that interviewed me were great, and the vibe I got from them was really good. And so I interviewed for both, and I knew that like I vibed better with the show that I wanted to be on. And then the recruiter said, okay, we'll get back to you like in a week. And then it was miserable.
The longest week of your life.
It was
right?
the longest.
Yeah.
It was the longest. It was like time stopped, and I was like, "Oh God!" And so, and I started keeping it a secret. I couldn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
When he becomes Cornholio, and he's like,
Yeah.
He becomes Cornholio. He's like, I'm Cornholio. And so that was me, but I was trying to be quiet. Revisionist.
Yeah.
And so, actually, it was like 3 days. I think it was like the next week, and then I got a calendar invite. So I use Google Calendar.
Yeah.
And you can see like who's like what the invitation is and everything. And so it said Miguel Sync or whatever, or like a catch up. And then it tells you who the guests are, but the invitation said the guest list has been hidden at the organizers. And so like I didn't know who the person, you know, I didn't know which show was gonna hire me. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was a wreck. I was just like so nervous, and I was just like, oh man. And I'm like, I was trying to work, but I couldn't focus.
Yeah.
And then I went up, and I went early, and then I went to the recruiter's office, and she's like, you're early. I'm like, yeah. Like to be honest, I've been really nervous. And she's like, why? I'm like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so then I sat there, and I was just like, who's gonna walk in the door?
Yeah.
Like, because in the end, it could be the show I want or the show that, you know, I'll have to be on.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, the person that shows up is the person from the show that I want to be on, line producer from the show that I want to be on. And then he just looked at me, shook my hand, and he sat down. And I'm going to get chills again, right?
Yeah.
The third time's the charm. But he sat there, and then he's like, yeah, you know, we really liked you in the interview. We also liked your boards. We want to give you the revisionist job. And then again, I think that hit me the hardest. I was just so stunned. And I think I responded immediately, heck yes. I don't think I even let him finish his sentence. So he wanted to offer the revisionist, but said yes.
Yes.
And then from when I just kind of went blank because that was like the moment that I dreamed of for the longest time, is to
Yeah.
get an artist job.
Yeah.
And for someone to finally tell you, hey, like, we want to offer you this job, it was just completely...
There's nothing more validating,
Oh
right?
my God.
In art.
Yeah, it's like this weight was lifted off my shoulders, you know, because the fear of not getting the job and the fear of, like, you know, losing that motivation, like, it just lifted. I'm like, this is why I worked so hard. This is why I put in all that time. This is why I kind of sacrificed, you know, being social and, you know, going out on weekends and stuff. Like, I sacrificed all that for this moment.
Yeah.
And it paid off. And I remember something that almost made me cry. What he said is like, yeah, you know, like, we were looking for people and, you know, we couldn't find anyone. And then the director, he said, yeah, like, the director, like, he showed us your stuff. And we're like, whoa, like, where did this guy come from? You know? And then, like, it just meant so much to me because the impact that they had on my work and the fact that, like, they were looking for other people and the fact that they weren't finding anyone. And, like, all of a sudden, like, lo and behold, like, here comes this guy, Miguel. And then they're like, wow, like, we want to hire this guy. And I was on the verge of tears because, like, that was everything to me, you know, and that's everything to anyone, to have someone say, yeah, like, you know, we liked your work, you know?
Yeah, that's huge.
And so in the end, I said yes, and I had to wait a month before starting.
So then you're on production, just kind of like,
okay, and then
still here.
And then I was afraid of, like, how people would react to it because I'd only been on the show for, like, I think it was 2 weeks. I only been on the show for 2 weeks, and now we were going to find out that I'd be leaving in a month.
Right.
And people found out, and everyone was super supportive. And in the end, when I left, like, you know, it was great. And then, but I missed the people there. Victoria was on that show.
Yes.
On
She
Victoria
just
Gould. Shout out, Victoria Gould.
Yes. And at the time we're recording this, she just rolled off that show this last week.
Yeah.
The Fast and Furious show.
And she's moving on to a feature project, which is really cool. Okay, so I started on the TV show that I'm on now. And what's funny is that I got an office, which was really cool. But it was electric. It was short-lived. It was short-lived.
Oh.
Because
Back to the pod.
because we were separated. So the show that I was on, for whatever reason, was separated. So we were on the 6th floor. The story team and the CG team, like the compositor and the effects lead, we're all on the 6th floor. And then production was on the 7th floor, along with, like, the animators and the designers and the writers. And so then we had to move up to the 24th floor, which we're at now. And that was cool. But I remember I went to search my desk and I realized, wait, is it in an office? Oh my God. I would share it with someone else, though. I'll share with another revisionist she's really cool. Lorraine Howard. Shout out to Lorraine Howard. She's really cool. She was a revisionist on Home, the show, the show Home, The Adventures of Tip and O. And so she and I shared an office, and it was amazing. Like, it would be, you know, like, I get really distracted. So being in an office meant, like, just shutting off yourself from society. As much as you want to be a part of society, you're like, no, I got to get to work.
Yeah.
And so she and I got along really well, and it was awesome because we were planning on decorating our office, really personalizing it. But then they told us that we were supposed to move to the feature campus because they're trying to consolidate the people who are working at TV and trying to move them to feature campus. It's just the logistical part of it's really hard, and so we were supposed to move over there. But then in the end, we ended up staying at Central Campus, which is the TV building. And we ended up moving to the 24th floor, which is cool. But I remember people be like, oh, look at you. Former intern, never business. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I am an office, but it was
I'm pretty sure I was the one saying all that.
No, and it was all out of love.
Hanging around. It was really weird.
And it was all out of love. But it was just funny how, but again, people see, like, your transition. And for me, like, I'm just so lucky that the trajectory that I went on was the trajectory that I took because I was okay with being on the regular trajectory. For me, going from being an intern to a storyboard revisionist in, like, less than a year, like, I was really proud of that because it wasn't me just showing off and be like, hey, look at me, I'm better than you. It was like, no, like, I was trying to fight for something. I was trying to fight against myself, against my doubts, and trying to achieve this goal. Not just for me, but for my family, for my friends. And for me, that was a big deal. And so the fact that, like, people would be very receptive to it, be like, oh, look at you, you know, you think you're better than us. But really, it was just all out of love because they remember seeing me starting off as an intern and then them knowing that I wanted to pursue this goal and following through with it. Yeah. For them, it was like it was the coolest thing for them. And, you know, like, hard work pays off. The fact that I had an office and these people who work just as hard, but, you know, like, having just being in a pod, you know, it's funny for them to see someone who has only been in the company for this long and get this thing that people are shooting towards. That's just the trajectory that, you know, I took. It allowed me to have this luxury. And I was only in the office for like 3 months, and then, you know, I went back to the pod, and it's fine now because, I mean, I get to talk to more people, and it's not as isolating, and so
So you went from a kid doodling on a piece of paper to sitting in front of a director, being validated, to sitting in an office doing the job you always dreamed of. That is insane. What is in your future? Where would you like to go? What do you see forecasted for you?
And if we could break that up into 2 goals, maybe your professional goal and then maybe your artistic goal.
Awesome. Great question. So my professional goal would be to then move up to storyboard artist, and then I actually want to be a director. And this is what's great about storyboarding is that the trajectory is much higher. For designs, for being a designer, you can be like a concept artist, layout artist, background artist, and then the highest you can reach is art director, which is fine. But with storyboarding, you can actually reach an executive producer position where you go from revisionist to board artist to director to supervising director to supervising producer, and then to executive producer. So my professional goal would be to be an executive producer of a show. I don't know if I'm going to be at DreamWorks that long. The company, you know, like there's so many companies out there, so many animation studios out there. Or I could be an executive producer on a show that I create. I also want to, you know, an artistic goal is to create my own show and to be the creator, the showrunner for that. Because I have ideas that I'm working on right now that I want to end up pitching later on. Right now, artistically too, I'm just trying to develop my skills. I haven't really posted on social media just because of the workload, but also too, like the commute takes a toll on me. I'm trying to take care of myself more. Because like the stress is a really big thing that you have to really consider, is that like you don't want to be so stressed out because you want to post stuff on social media, or you want your presence known. It's like I want to focus on improving myself as a person and as an artist through, you know, learning the fundamentals again, and also learning how to take care of myself, because it's going to be a long career, and it's going to be a very long career full of, you know, lots of work, lots of stress, lots of challenges. And so for me, that's what I'm focusing on now. And for me, like, I want to, you know, create my own show. I want to be in feature. I want to end up, like, writing my own stories, whether it be, like, films or shows. For me, it's open. But I know I want to get to that position of power to be able to make those decisions and to kind of bring something to the world that I've had in mind for so long.
Yeah. Well, the amount of passion that you have, the drive, and just overall how hard you've worked for this, I have no doubt that you're going to reach that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just to kind of, like Christian had already done, kind of tie it back, but you know, just seeing you even in the time that I've known you, you know, at school, and you working so hard. Like, I didn't even know you for like the first couple of years I was at school, because you were nose to the grindstone working so hard.
Yeah.
You know, you and Joel. And so, I mean, yeah, it's so inspiring for all of us who knew you at school, and the time that you would spend, you know, working by yourself to make it happen, so that now when you're in a studio, I'm so glad that you, like, I mean, I know you're back to the pod, but I think it's kind of awesome because it's like, now you're able to breathe, you know, and see other people, you know, and still work, and you know, and still get all that done. So that's awesome. So what I wanted to kind of tie that around to, because you gave a lot of advice throughout the podcast for, you know, getting internships and storyboarding. But one thing I want to talk about kind of specifically, and this will lead into, we got some questions from Instagram from people that you know, so it's going to be exciting. So this is kind of my first one. It'll transition us into that. And then we'll talk about your social media. What's something that you learned, say, in production that you wouldn't have known before you got to school? And then the same for storyboarding. And if you could just choose, like, you know, one or two.
Man, I could hug you right now. You're asking such awesome questions. Because I had this in my mind, but like you asking this question, I'm like, yes. So in production, one of the things you have to consider is that you have to really communicate with people. You have to kind of break out of that barrier of being anxious, or if you're very social, it's good to just find that avenue to talk to people, to communicate with people. And one of the things that I would say is super important in production is one is to like be mindful of your time. Like time management is super crucial. Being mindful of like how much time you need, and also too, it just gives you that sense of like, it really grounds you production, because sometimes it's a thankless job because you're kind of going around making sure everyone's okay, and everyone's so focused on their work that they don't really give you a moment to recognize you, and that's fine because it's so fast paced. Production is one of those things where you just become a better artist in person because you were kind of in the trenches of kind of running around making sure everyone was okay, you know, and making sure that, you know, whatever you did was important to then have someone else have their job be easier.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I would have to get there early in the morning just to unpack stuff, so that way when the artists show up, the CG artists, they would just open up their stuff and be ready.
Yeah.
And so it really makes you understand that like you need to be mindful of like how your actions and what you do have consequences towards the production. And you know, like if you start off as an artist, I know artists have a tendency to have big egos and to think that they're bigger than everyone. Production kind of like makes you realize that you're not. You're part of you're a piece of the machine. You know, you're part of the machine that has to run fully, because if you're out of that, it dismantles. And so for you, it's not just about you. Production really enables you to understand that it's a team effort. It really emphasizes team. And that's something where as an artist, like you're not really as involved with the team as much. You still have to report to production, but like, you know, being an artist means you just being you by yourself with the Cintiq, with the tablet, and just you doing your work. And production is kind of you just understanding that like you have to be a good person in order to make sure that everyone gets their stuff done. You know, you can't be a jerk. You can't let, you know, your egos or your attitudes get in the way. And also too, like understanding the importance of like reporting to people, you know, like checking your emails, you know, being thorough, being open to criticism, being open to feedback. In production, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You know, you're gonna screw up on an email. You might word it wrong. Someone might respond to you and be like, "Hey, you know, like I didn't get what you were saying," or sometimes someone might lash out at you unintentionally. Production is a way to really ground you and make you realize that if I were in that position as an artist, I wouldn't want to treat production in a bad way. I'd want to treat them with the utmost respect because they're doing a lot of the behind the scenes work to ensure that my job is way easier. And so that's a big thing in production, is that by being in it, you just become a way better artist and you add that much more value to you. Because if you're an artist who kind of just acts like a prima donna and like doesn't follow deadlines and it's kind of like, oh no, like I want this to be perfect, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you kind of act snobby, then then you're not right for TV and you're not right for animation, because it's a team effort.
Yeah.
And production kind of adds that extra bonus of understanding what it takes to just be a good collaborator. Yeah.
That's great. And then one or two things that you've learned storyboarding.
So the biggest thing, or at least like the most important thing I've learned, is to really just embrace the ideas that you have. On a technical level, don't be precious with your artwork. Be really rough with your ideas. Get them out as soon as possible. My process for storyboarding is like kind of very, very similar to like other processes where I get a paper and I just start thumbnailing out ideas, and just being quick with your ideas. Just kind of let out your first instincts and put them on paper. That's a big thing I learned about storyboarding. And then two, like really find ways to learn anatomy, composition, watch a lot of films, and really know how to use the software and utilize it well. And like don't be afraid to up the ante. You know, if you want to add some color in there, add some color in there. If you want to kind of, you know, add a couple extra panels, you know, do it. At least in animation, it makes sense because you're putting it into an animatic.
Right.
But always try to find a way to up yourself. And I know that was way more than two things, but I feel like
that's good. Yeah.
It's one of those important things I've learned. And like, your ideas are key. Your drawings can be great, but if your ideas aren't great, then your drawings aren't going to look great. Your ideas have to be great in order for you to convey the idea that you want, and for the person to be like, okay, the drawing may not be great, but the idea is the thing that gets me. The idea is the thing that's clear.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And so with that, you were talking about how you personally have studied movies even as far back as, you know, Aladdin in Spanish and, you know, and A Bug's Life and stuff. So on your live streams that you've done on Instagram as well as on Twitch, right?
Yes.
You've done some of that. So can you talk about where people can find that as well as your social media?
Yes. So my social media, I mainly use Instagram. So my Instagram is Miguel Baltazar _art. and I used to do live streams with Joel Zamudio. Shout out again to Joel Zamudio. Him and I did live streams, and you can just go on like the Instagram Live if you check out, or if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that. But I try to do live streams every now and then. That's where you can actually see me work on my personal stuff. Mm-hmm. I also like, I don't think we mentioned this, but I also like doing backgrounds. I also like like to do 2D backgrounds and stuff like that. And that's something that, if that could be a professional thing that I could do, I want to pursue that too. Because I do like Viz Dev, but my focus is on storyboarding. And then also too, Twitch, it's still kind of like in the works. It's like a work in progress kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what my name on Twitch is. We can get it out to you later.
Yeah.
But
it's like twitch.tv/ and then the same as your Instagram, right? I think Miguel Baltazar _art.
Yeah, because I did one Twitch stream and like there are a lot of technical issues, but it was fine because I was just trying to figure out like the software and everything. Yeah. And then if you guys want to check out my website, it's miguelbaltazarart.com. You can actually check out the storyboard that I actually showed the director, Emil and the Mechanical Heart, as kind of like a guide, or hopefully like a trajectory, or at least like a foundation as to like where you want to go with storyboarding. And yeah,
that's awesome, man. Wow. So you can check that out. But we got a few questions from your fans on Instagram.
I have fans?
You do. My God. I know.
What's wrong with them?
So this is a new thing. He is going to be answering directly to you guys what you asked him. Shoot.
Okay, so I don't know if you knew Gavin at school, but he's a friend of mine.
Oh, yes.
And so his question is, what's your favorite art medium?
Ink. Pen and ink is my favorite. The reason why is because with pencil, you always have to erase, and you're not really fully committed to the mark you're making. Oh. With pen and ink, and also with storyboarding too, it's just great just to like be loose. At least with pen, you're just like, okay, I made the mark. Oh, whatever. I'm just going to keep going. So that's what I've mainly used, and it's awesome for gaining confidence, and it looks good when you're doing it right, and it's quick. So
that's awesome. Sweet.
Nice.
And next question. We're going down. So Daniel, shout out. He's getting on the podcast, Jugenberg. So this is, I thought, a really great question. And we talked about this a little bit in the podcast, but he asks, what part of your culture has influenced your art the most?
Ooh. Wow, that's a great one. The part of my culture would be the people. I think for me, and also the architecture too, if we're getting very literal, the people themselves just create this vibe where, for me, it's like I want to be able to have my art tell the stories of these people. Going to Mexico and visiting my grandma's house and just seeing like the way it's built, it really speaks a lot to like the hard work that's put into building a house and building a community and building a safe space. And for me, the people are the part of the culture that motivates me the most. And so for me, one of my original stories talks about like an Aztec superhero in the future that kind of symbolizes my life growing up, and also symbolizes the hardships, but also the great things that Mexican people have experienced, and also the Mexican culture.
And if I may throw one on top of there, are there any stories, or would you like to tell more stories involving those kinds of themes and concepts?
Absolutely. I was actually even thinking about doing a zine about my dad's journey from Mexico to the U.S., just to kind of showcase like just what it takes for a parent or for someone to sacrifice their upbringing to uproot themselves and move to a place that they've never been to before. I feel like that's something that I haven't really seen in an animation medium or in a comic medium. I would love to tell that story, just to kind of really acknowledge the sacrifices that a lot of Mexicans and Latinos and even other minorities too, uprooting themselves from their countries and going to a place that they've never been to before. Like, that's something I want to tell, because that's something that I acknowledge fully, and that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. And I want people to kind of understand the struggles and also like the fruits of the labor of having to do that. So,
well, yeah, and like we talked about in your podcast, just like seeing your dad moving here from Mexico, and then you accomplishing so many feats as a result of his hard work as well as yours. I mean, that's awesome.
And I gotta say, like, at least for us, like Latinos, for us Mexicans, like we never take anything for granted. Like any little accomplishment is seen like in such a big light, and like my dad just like. He like just the look on his face, like he's just so proud of me. I know, but he was proud of me from the beginning, but just the fact that like I was able to accomplish something that he kind of doubted for a bit, and like he's just so happy, and that's something that that part of my culture that I appreciate is that like they don't take for granted the accomplishments that people make. So,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
well, thank you.
We're the same person.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, Drew Tipton asks,
Oh, cool.
Shout out, Drew. Love you.
shout out Drew,
Never met you, but
what inspires your style?
part of it has to do with studying other people's styles, and also too kind of trying to find ways to be different. For me, I've always been a fan of like that angular style, that angular design where like characters are just very like, you know, pointed and angular. I think Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV show has that kind of style. And for me, it's a matter of like studying styles that I like, which I go through on Instagram and I go on their blogs and stuff. And also part of it too is something that I want to see. So it's not so much using style as a crutch, but using it as like a reference point.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm influenced by a lot of like Disney artists. Adam Dix is one that comes to mind. Shi-Yoon Kim, who is the character designer on Spider-Verse.
And Big Hero 6.
And Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
And then to like other artists too. I kind of take those pieces of their styles that I like a lot, and I kind of try to fuse them together and try to create something different. And like I don't want to go for a certain style. I'm just trying to like figure out what's something that I want to do, you know. So
That's awesome, man.
Nice.
Well, and the fact that you've done so many different things like we talk about in the podcast, I think it's cool. Like you were talking about at the beginning of this questionnaire is you using ink and you know expanding your style. And that leads into something else we talked about in the podcast, and that is from DeMarco Cruz.
Oh, DeMarco.
Shout out. Tips for getting a board revisionist job.
Ooh, okay. That's a lot. DeMarco, come on. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
DeMarco, that's a great question. That's a great question. Part of it is like finding storyboard portfolios. There's a couple that I know. Chris Jimenez, who's a board artist now at Cartoon Network. He has a great blog spot, chrisjimenez.blogspot.com. That's a great one. And I can't think of any other portfolios, but like just finding like those animation portfolios in specifically to see what it is that companies look for. I think to like work on storyboards. That's the biggest thing. Work on storyboards. Have a lot of roughs. Do a lot of gesture drawing. That's a big thing because that's the thing that they want to see is that can you interpret anatomy quickly, and also too on your resume really focus on any sort of freelance gigs that you've done, any sort of projects you worked on in school. And this is like if you know people are in school and like are close to graduating. And then like just knowing what the company looks for. But the biggest thing is just having a good solid storyboard portfolio that has rough patches in it. So like if your boards are clean throughout, have a couple panels that are really rough just to showcase your thought process. And then also to having gesture drawing and then showing sketches of your character like in a shorthand. And then also to having turnarounds of your character. That's something I didn't do in my portfolio, but that's something that's a really crucial thing is you're showcasing your design skills, but also you're giving yourself good reference for your characters because you need those turnarounds to get an idea of how to draw those characters. And then your cover letter too. Actually, artist jobs don't really require cover letters. It depends, but really your resume has to showcase things related to storyboarding. If you've taken courses online like schoolism.com, which I've actually taken right now, those are great. And finding anything that relates to storyboarding, you know.
That's awesome. And you brought up in the podcast your own work. So can you just say it again for the purposes of this video where people can go so that they can learn? So
to check out my semi-okay stuff, you can go to MiguelBaltazarArt.com. If you follow me on Instagram at MiguelBaltazar_art, I have a link in my bio to my website. If you want to check out the storyboard that one of the directors saw at DreamWorks that ended up getting me the job I have now, I feel like that's a good reference point to see someone who's still fairly new to the industry, but also seeing the things that got me the job. So you can check out that stuff at those platforms.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Now we're going to move on to some slightly different questions.
Yeah, this is from my friend Matt at school, who goes by Marble Bear. Shout out.
Okay.
Shout out. His question for you is, do you have any cool socks?
I do, actually. Actually, I'm not wearing them now, but I have some cool Batman socks. So I have some yellow Batman socks. I have like the insignia on the side.
Oh, nice.
And then I have a pair of black Batman socks that's kind of like the inverted version of it. So it's like black and the insignia is yellow. And then I have some R2, or actually some BB-8 socks. I have some Spider-Man socks. I have some Cartoon Network socks.
Oh my gosh.
What other socks do I have?
We know what to get you for Christmas.
Oh, please. Oh my god, please. Please. I saw some really cool Captain America socks. I don't have those. I think that's it. Those are all the socks I have.
That's
You got
so
lucky.
cool. Yeah.
we need to like include at the beginning of the podcast that you were also a sock aficionado.
Yes.
Part of
Oh
your
my God,
bio.
yes.
Part of your bio.
Yeah,
It's part of your transferable skills.
Yeah,
and,
just
your
put on your resume.
Yeah.
You have some cool
Any
socks.
job you want, you'll get it.
That's the secret sauce. You need to put cool sauce or some cool socks,
Yeah.
and then you'll get hired. It's a shoe-in.
Perfect.
That's the perfect thing to say.
All right, and the last one by Luigi Manessa, which we had on episode 11
Oh, that's
of the
right.
podcast. He asked you to finish this quote. Those eggs were a lie, Steven. A lie. They gave me no ego powers.
They gave me no nutrients.
Yeah! Shout out to Nacho Libre.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks everyone for checking out this video and for checking out the amazing art of Miguel Baltazar.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for
guys.
coming on the podcast, man. We
Wow.
super appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I'm getting a little emotional there.
Yeah.
Cut it right now.
And that concludes our interview with Storyboard Revisionist Miguel Baltazar.
Man, what I really liked about this podcast in particular, because my opinion really matters, it's one of those crazy stories where you hear someone who really had a vision, followed through with it, and actually hit a fair amount of success.
Yeah, and I think that success came from him just not being afraid to show his work, which is hard as an artist to do, but it really paid off for him so that now he gets to do what he really wants to, which is in storyboarding and moving his way up. So super awesome.
And if you want to know what it takes to become a storyboard revisionist, Miguel actually has the very storyboard that got him the job at DreamWorks up on his website.
Yeah, you go to miguelbaltazarart.com and also check him out on the Instagrams, miguelbaltazar_art.
And also check him out, unless he's taken. I don't know, Miguel. I'm sorry.
But you can check him out on our YouTube channel. So the Instagram questions that you guys asked Miguel, we have up as a video version on YouTube. Just look up the Up and Coming Artist Podcast YouTube channel and you can find it over there.
That's it.
Oh, there's one more thing. What? You guys can come meet us at our table at Ground Zero Animation Expo.
Well, that just butters my biscuit.
It's going to be June 8th and 9th. Come on over, meet us if you haven't done that already. Actually, you know what? You probably know me. It's Christian you guys don't know because he's off on his honeymoon getting a massage or whatever. So come on down. It's going to be in Sten at the Boys and Girls Club. June 8th and 9th, and you can meet so many other great artists like Eva Sawinski, who we've had on the podcast before, and so many other great artists, such as guys from Toon Therapy, who will be sharing the table with us.
We hope to see you there, get some free stickers, have some good times, and that art thing you do, keep on doing it.